Hello and welcome to the IK Multimedia live stream. We'll be broadcasting from IK's new Sunrise Studios in Sunrise, Florida, and we're celebrating the launch of the Total Studio 3 Max bundle. This has 124 of IK's most powerful music titles, 56 plugins, over 14,600 sounds, tons of presets, and everything you need from composing to mastering. We're going to be talking to various artists, producers, and engineers over the coming weeks, so let's get started. Hello, I'm Dave Kerzner, also known as Squids. We're here at Sunrise Studios in Sunrise, Florida, IK Multimedia Studio, and we are celebrating the launch of the Total Studio 3 Max, the continuation. Today we're going to focus on Syntronik Deluxe, which is included in the Total Studio 3 Max bundle, and I'm also going to be giving it away. So stay tuned. I'm going to be asking a question here in a little bit, and you'll just input the answer into the chat, and someone could win Syntronik Deluxe. Now, Syntronik Deluxe, the Deluxe Edition, it includes 80 gigabytes of sounds, and it has 22 different synthesizer instruments. It's a recreation of classic analog and digital synths, vintage synthesizers. The original regular Syntronik that came with Total Studio Max 2 had 17 different instruments, and now there's an additional 5 that are in the Deluxe Edition that come with Total Studio 3 Max. So that's exciting, and I'll talk about the different synths, so we'll go through them and play them and have some fun here. But I'm gonna tell you the question early, okay? And then I might just mention it, what it is. So there are various filters inside Syntronik, filter models. Not just your regular generic filter, but there's models of very famous synthesizer brands. And so the question is going to be, and you have to input the answer at any time during the stream, and someone from the IK Multimedia social team is going to pick a winner, and then we'll put the winner's name in the chat, so stay tuned for the whole thing and maybe you'll win. But the answer is, the question, sorry, is there's the names of them are C-type, R-type, M-type. You have to tell me, what is the M-type? What is that a model of? And I'll give you a hint. I actually worked on a product that's the predecessor to this, and it was called the sample blank. Now, there's 2 different sample blanks, but one of them has an M in it. So good luck on that. All right, so let's dig in. So first of all, you have 80 gigabytes of sounds. You have 22 instruments. There's actually a recreation of 44 classic synths within those 22 instruments. I'm looking at the plugin here. I'm also I have the website on behind me there. If you go to the website, you get all the information. And by the way, so with Syntronik Deluxe, with the new 5, you get, let's see, I think 18 gigabytes more of sounds, and you have 500 new presets. You have 2,600 presets in total, and I think over 150,000 samples. Now, when I say samples, and we're talking about a synth, some people may get confused between, let's say, is it modeling, is it a modeled synth, or is it samples? It's actually both, and this is really exciting to me, and I'll tell you why. Excuse me. We're cool. So, so with modeled instruments like, let's say, moto bass, moto drums, there's physical modeling, and it's not really based on samples. It's based on this other technique called physical modeling, where you have a lot of flexibility to change things, and you're not just working with a recording. A sample is a recording of a sound. You're generating that sound with all the math and everything that's going on as a physical model instrument. With samples, such as, let's say, Sample Tank, you're playing back recordings of the sounds, multi-samples of instruments. In the case of Syntronik, these are done where it's animated with round robin, so that it doesn't just, it's not a static sample. There's a lot of variety in the sampling, the multi-sampling, but and also, by the way, Syntronik is powered by Sample Tank underneath. So the sounds can, if you own Syntronik, of course, if you own Total Studio 3 Max, you have both Sample Tank and Syntronik, but they'll load inside Sample Tank. And the engine underneath is the same. The GUI, the graphic interface of Syntronik, as you can see here on the screen, and I'll show you a lot of the really good-looking GUIs, emulate some of the classic synths and stuff, but underneath it's actually the same engine. However, It's a chameleon now, both Sample Tank and Syntronik, of modeled filters, analog filters. And this and other features that actually help recreate some of the analog vibe. So it's like a hybrid. It's a hybrid between sampling and modeling. And the reason I like it is because it sounds more like the real thing. It doesn't always work exactly like the original synth. That's the trade-off. But when you're playing a Prophet, like for instance, I have a Prophet sound here. That sounds like a Prophet. And also I have all these great IK built-in effects here. And if I wanted to, let's say, change this one out for one of my faves, this Model of a Boss chorus. And I can go in here and, here, and adjust the cutoff. Now, over here to the left, I have these different filter types. So if I wanted to change it to an R type, or an M type, they each have a different character. And so what's cool, what I like, is that you have all these different synths. If I go through here on the left, you can see, you can load through these various synths. I'll talk about them too. You have this 99, which is a recreation of the Yamaha SY99. And when you click on it, you have all these sounds, and there's a filter for the different types of sounds. But if you wanted, let's say, clacky FM piano. That's like an FM synthesizer, so that's represented. And then if you, let's say, go to the Blau, and as you check these, sorry, I have to load a sound here. So I'll just load a sound from the Blau. And, oops, sorry, I need to select Blau. All right, give me my Blau. I don't even know if I say that right. Blue, Blau, you say blue, I say potato, whatever. This is a recreation of the PPG wave. I used to have this synth. It's a great synth, and it's kind of like that was itself a hybrid, actually, of wave tables, these little samples with an analog filter, and kind of belly sounds. And so many different sounds. And you get these interfaces when you click here. So like, let's say I'll go into Bully, and I'll just pull up one of these sounds, and you get what looks like Moog Taurus pedals, because it's a recreation of that sound, a model of whatever you want to call it. It's a combination. So you see you have these different filter types. And one of the things I love about Syntronik is that you actually, you have the ability to take, like that sounds like a Taurus pedal. There's a certain sound to the Taurus pedals that's great. And I can use, you know, the standard sort of the expected, you know, Moog style filter on that over here with this pedal. It's cute. But I can, unlike other synths, it's a chameleon, so I can actually run the oscillators, the sound, the recorded sound of the Taurus into a Roland style. Or a C style, which is a Curtis chip, by the way, that was used in the Prophet 5 and some Oberheim gear. And you can, you know, or an O type in Oberheim. So, oh, sorry, there's a resonance. And have a lot of fun. Then you have a Foreman filter and a classic filter. So there's endless possibilities. I mean, first of all, you have 2,600 presets if you don't like to program sounds yourself. But if you do, you can have a field day creating sounds that are very authentic, probably the most authentic sounding, because it's got that combination of very thoroughly sampled, it is the real thing. And we'll talk to Erik Norlander, the co-creator of that, in a little bit, and he'll explain some more about that. In fact, he actually co-created this synth, that is a recreation of the Andromeda from Alesis. He helped create that back when he was working at Alesis. And I used to create sounds with Alesis. We'll talk about that. But But anyway, so you know he knows this one very well. Anyway, so you can go through these sounds. I'll talk about a few of them. This is Harpy, is a 260 is a recreation of an ARP 2600, one of my favorite synths ever. Let's load that and look at that. I mean, I'm just pulling up random sounds. Now, by the way, and here's a look. This is a Juno 60. Well, recreation of a Juno 60. Sounds just like a Juno 60. That. Well, because it is. It's a recording of a Juno 60. See, that's the thing. A Jupiter 8, recreation of a Jupiter 8. I have to say it properly because it isn't a Jupiter 8. It's a, you know, a recreation of it or model of it, but it's more than a model of it. It's, I don't know what you would call it. Let's see. Okay, this is cool. Now, first of all, let's say I like this sound. You can click favorite. Look on the screen here. By the way, you can always make it bigger. With IK plugins, you can stretch the GUI. Gotta love that. Let's say, you know, I like this sound. You hit favorite. And now, when you go through these filters, it helps you choose, like, I want a bass sound or a brass sound or a lead or whatever, and it'll narrow these thousands of sounds down. That's a great system. But let's say you're like, you know what, I have picked my favorite sounds. You could literally have like a session where you're just sitting there and like, I like that sound, favoriting them. And then when you want to just call those up, just click this star here, and there it is, right? Very cool. You can also save back your own patches. But so let's do that, actually. Let's take this very open filter saw sound. That's a perfect sound to just have our way with it, with this awesome synth engine. That's the sample tank engine. And of course with this inspiring GUI as well. So we have our cutoff here. We have resonance. And I can go in and I can choose it. This is set to R-type, which would be a model of Roland style filters. I could change it to a C-type, which is what? Do you know? It's not the question, but we're going to get to that in a second to win. But it's the Curtis, and I probably should have done this one because it's harder. You know, such as what is the Curtis filter used in? What synths? And I already said it. It's the Prophet 5, some later Oberheim synths, and some others. It was a very popular filter, and it's got a nice warm sound to it. Here's the O-type, which is like the Oberheim, model of an Oberheim filter. Now this is more of like, this is more like the model of the first Oberheims, the Oberheim SCM and the 4-voice and all of those, the 8-voice. And actually I'll show you that because that's in here too. All my favorite synths are in here. You have, one of the newer ones actually is a recreation of the Memory Moog. Of course you have a recreation of a Mini Moog in there, a Moog Modular, the Multi-Moogs and things like that, the OBXAs, the Polymoog, Prophet 5. Here's the Sam. This is the one I was telling you about. And I actually made a favorite, so I'm going to click on that, and I made a few faves. Let's see. Okay, let's pull up a lead. All right. So we can mess around. This is set to O-type. Which is this style of filter that the look of those old white SEMs, which I have one, they're great. One of the best sounding synths ever, actually. But it's so cool that you can change the filter type on it. C-type, which would be Curtis, or you can go to the Roland. from Moog. Should be very different. Now you also have phaser or formant. The formant's cool. Check this out. It kind of makes it talk. Actually, I'll pull up a polyphonic sound that I had. Let's see, this I think was one. Okay, yeah. Now listen to this, the formant. And then you have the classic, which is the basic original sample tank filter. You have low pass, band pass, high pass. And you have different slopes to choose from, 6, 12, 18, 24. It's a powerful synth. So anyway, there's so many things you can do. I mean, I can go on and on about it. Here, check this out. Okay, I will just play one thing. So you have, let's see, some of the newer ones, by the way, the SHV, this is like some of the newer ones when I say in Syntronik Deluxe. SHV is some Roland SH synths. Of course, you have the TB303 recreated there, Yamaha CS80, which is a V80 here, very desirable. And the VCF3 is a recreation of the EMS VCS3 Synthy, which was used on Dark Side of the Moon, from Pink Floyd, The Who, Bargain, and so many other greats. But speaking of Pink Floyd here, I'm going to pull up a sound. Let's see. Oh, that should be nice. Let me find. Okay, I think I have a better one here. So that is a recreation of an ARP string ensemble. So, I mean, like I said, if you're into vintage synthesizers and classic keyboard sounds, Syntronik Deluxe, I think, is a must. And, you know, I do progressive rock myself, but I work with a variety of different artists, and one of them happens to work with IK Multimedia. You may be familiar with her, Rachel Woods, also known as Holly Woods. She's a DJ and a singer, songwriter, and a multi-instrumentalist, and she's in Los Angeles right now, and we're working on a project together, collaborating on some songs and a new thing that we're doing. And we're using, of course, a lot of IK Multimedia products, including Syntronik. So let's check in with Rachel now and see what she's up to in Los Angeles.
Hello, Dave, and hello, people of IK. My name is Rachel. As Dave said, I make music as Holly Woods, but I also work at IK as Rachel Woods. So I am here today to show you how I use Syntronik in one of my projects. I'm here from my studio. It's in progress. I'm still putting it together because I just moved here, but it's basically all powered by IK. I'm talking into an iRig mic studio right here. I've got my MTMs, I've got my Uno Synth Pro in the back, I've got everything, honestly, all of it. So yeah, let's get to it, let's dive in. So this song is actually something that I'm working on with Dave, and we recorded vocals on it last week in the IK studio, but we are going to work on the version without vocals to start, just to focus on the production of the track. So first, let me play the track for you, and then we'll dive in. So here we go. Okay, that's the part that we're gonna focus on today. First, the very main sound that you hear, right here, I'll solo it. I'm gonna take everything that I did off of it and kind of show you how we got here. So, I started off in Syntronik with a preset. Let's just go back to the original preset. So I'll erase my settings. Also, I apologize if you hear any fan noises because the streaming software with my Ableton and all the plugins is a little heavy, so just ignore the fan noise if you hear that. But okay, so here is what the original preset sounds like. And this is actually a model of the Korg monopoly, so pretty sick. If I turn off the arpeggiator that I put on it, it's just this. So right off the bat, we've got some rhythm added to it. I want this to be more like drawn out and more ethereal, but also keep like the key feel to it. So I'm going to just follow along. I don't want to change that. I like it better how it was. The hold maybe a little bit more. Okay, that's where I want it. So, as you can hear, the highs in this sound are really harsh, at least for like kind of what I'm going for. So, let me close out of this. I'm gonna take them down here. I'm gonna cut out the lows just to keep it clean. Very nice. And so where this sound really comes to life is the T-Rex space delay. So I'll show you it without it, and then I'll show you it with it. So here it is without it. Here it is with it. So what I did here, I started off with the vintage, let me just start from the original preset again. I started off with the vintage space preset, and I wanted this to be like a really reverby kind of thing, and this has reverb built into it. So what I did first was I turned the ducking all the way down, so it gets rid of basically ducking is when the reverb waits a bit. As you can tell, I'm very technical, but there's a little bit of a delay before the reverb hits the sound, so I want to turn that off. I want the reverb to hit right away to make it softer. Stereo reverb on. Dry wet up. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think the volume needs to be turned down a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, so we're sold there. Let's go to the next. So basically this whole intro, besides samples, is Syntronik. This is actually right here, it looks like a sample, but it is a recording of Syntronik that I did. So if we come up here, this is like the main sound of the intro. It is this preset in Syntronik. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that because I don't want to be laughed at, but okay, so I'm pretty sure I did a few things to it. I probably turned the attack down just so it hit a little bit harder, but this is just an audio recording of this exact synth, but I just doubled it so it's a little bit more drawn out for the intro, and I think I may have filtered it a little bit as well, so it opens up into the main sound. Yeah. And then, okay, so hear them together. Cool. And then this part. I don't think there's any Syntronik, but I'm pretty sure it's all sample tank, so just gonna show you what I went through, just because. Anytime there's orchestral parts in my song, they're from Sample Tank and Miroslav. Literally anytime. I may be biased, but I think that they're the greatest. There's this little eerie synth kind of thing going on. I really like this sound. I think it's cool. No processing besides stuff internal in Sample Tank 4. That's a sound I actually recorded myself on my phone when I was hiking, literally from my phone speaker. Since then, IK has equipped me with better phone microphones, so I can do that a little better, but it still works in the song. Sample Tank pianos, Mixbox. Here it is with Mixbox. And I'm gonna turn it off so you can hear the difference. It becomes so much smaller, it loses all of the body. Yeah, and then so this is a pretty simple project. Technically, it's not meant to be super intricate. But let's go ahead and add another melody while we're here. I want to keep the vibe very ethereal, so I went ahead and picked out this preset. Let's see, wind choirs. I tried out a few other ones. This one was a contender. Let's see. That's not the one that was a contender. I think, oh, it might have been this one. No, it's the one I just tried. Let's see. Let's try Ghost Choir. That one's really pretty, but I think I'm gonna stick with wind choirs. This one kind of just fits like the more eerie feel. I like the grittiness to it. That's literally already built in just to the preset. So let me just mess around a little bit and see if I want to change anything. Okay. Alright, let's see, filter. Okay, so let's, I'm just gonna play a melody on top of the song and we'll see if it works. Let me turn it down a bit because it's kind of loud. And yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna not solo it so I can hear the rest of the song along with it. Okay, yeah, I mean, it fits. Let's see. Maybe try moving it here. See what it sounds like. No, absolutely not. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you kind of on the fly just what it can add to your track without this melody. And with it, it just adds like a different kind of analog flavor that you don't really get with anything else. And that's why I always find myself just defaulting to Syntronik just because I always am happy with the results. In any kind of music. But I love to make ethereal music, so of course I'm a little bit biased on the synths, but you can incorporate this into anything. Hip hop, rap, rock, EDM, which I make as well. Like if you had some drum beats behind that, you can make it into the next Kanye song. So but all right, I am going to check out now. But yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for tuning in with me for a little bit. And I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.
All right, that was Rachel Hollywoods in Hollywood, California. And that's great. You know, like it's amazing to me how Syntronik Deluxe is useful for so many different styles of music. You know, from progressive rock that I do to electronica that Rachel does, and the in-between of the project we're doing, and trip hop, hip hop, you know, all the different styles of dance and electronica. I mean, anything that calls soundtracks, anything that calls for synthesizers and great classic synthesizers. You know, these also, I would say, you know, just from a sound standpoint, having 2,600 presets and 150,000 samples. I mean, it's a massive collection from a sound standpoint, but also in terms of the gear, it takes years to collect this gear. It's not something you just go to the store and you just go, I think I'll get an Oberheim from the 70s, you know, or any of these great synths, Rolands and Moogs and ARPs. I love all that stuff, and I've been collecting them myself for years, and so has my good friend Eric Norlander. Eric co-created Syntronik, did a lot of the sampling for it. He also created a lot of the synths from Elysis back in the day. And so okay, first of all, we're going to talk to Eric in a minute. I have something to share with you, an interview that I did with him talking about it. But before we do that, this is your chance, your final chance to win Syntronik Deluxe. Don't forget, answer this question. What does the M-type filter, what does the M stand for in terms of what it is a model of? What brand synthesizer? And like I said earlier, I helped create a plugin with IK Multimedia that's the predecessor to this called Sample Blank. And that's the little blank is the name that we're looking for. Enter your IK username to make it easy for us. Don't put your password in there, just your login username, and we'll pick a winner and let you know in the chat. So do that, and I'll give you, hit O type. O is for Oberheim. R type, R is for Roland. These are great synthesizers. All have different character, like we were talking about it. So what is the M type? All right. So now, for the celebration of Total Studio 3 Max, I had a long, awesome conversation, tech talk with Erik Norlander. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from that now. How's it going over there?
Going great. Good to see you.
You too. Tell us a bit about what is it that's unique about Syntronik and that makes it great in terms of the combination of the hybrid sampling technology and what you guys did with the modeling of the filters and other analog emulation stuff in the software.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a lot of great analog synth emulations on the market. Arturia, Spectrasonics, whoever else. There's so many great companies. And the last thing we wanted to do was just make another Me Too synth product. And obviously, IK is amazing at modeling. We know that from T-Rax and Amplitube and all that stuff. IK is also great at sampling. We know that from Sample Tank, of course, and products like that you were involved in that go way back to the original Sample Tank libraries and Sonic Synth and Sample Moog and all that stuff. So when it came time to do the synth VI, I wanted to do a sample-based product because, first of all, I had a huge library of synth sounds that I recorded like over the last 20 years. And I did it for practical purposes because I used to tour quite a bit. And I would take, my Andromeda and my Moog Voyager and my Mini Moog Model D, I would take those on the road and I would watch in horror, as they would come down the belt at the airline terminal, even in a flight case, but just cartwheeling and then, it's like, okay, that's a $200 repair bill right there.
Yeah.
And, you can get some of those things on a backline, but, some of the things like an Andromeda, you can't really get an Andromeda on a backline in most cities. And so I started strategically sampling synths and figuring out a way to do it where you could take advantage of the synthesizer engine of the software, but also have all the mojo and the character of the original instrument. Mm-hmm. And that's very much the Syntronik idea. So I sampled, raw oscillators, combinations of oscillators, like, 2 oscillators beating against each other, 3 together. And then we would do the filtering in the digital software instrument. And then I would also do things like sample pulse width modulation, and I would line up the phase so that, you'd have sampled pulse width modulation, but if you played a chord, every note is in sync. So it sounds like, you're playing pulse width modulation on a memory Moog or something, Prophet 5 or something that you'd expect. And all the modulation is in sync.
You've captured the real sound. A sample is a recording. So it's literally going to sound probably more like an EMS Synthy or a PPG or a Oberheim than a modeled one, which is recreating it because it's not an actual recording. So tell us.
That's right. And it sounds like a VCS3 because it is a VCS3.
Right.
And it sounds like an Oberheim OBXA because it is an Oberheim OBXA. It was you, in fact, had the idea that we should model the filters of famous synths. Mm-hmm. So rather than just having, samples of the synths and having, using the filters from Sample Tank or whatever, wouldn't it be cool if we actually modeled the filters? We were able to model, the famous Bob Moog transistor ladder filter, the Curtis CEM, whatever it's called, 31 something chip. We modeled the Roland IR, whatever, I should have these names, but it's the Roland filter chip that's in the Jupiter 8 and the Juno 60.
That's awesome.
Which sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, the Oberheim
SEM
variable chip.
Squeeze,
in the SEM. In fact, those SEMs are the ones that we modeled for.
That's
Syntronik.
Cool. All right, that's Syntronik Deluxe. 22 different instruments. Each work as their own virtual instrument plugin, all powered by Sample Tank. You have 44 legendary synthesizers recreated, 80 gigabytes, 2,600 patches, 150 samples. It's an insane collection. And congratulations to the person who won. Check the chat for the winner. And thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and share and tune in each week for more videos talking about the Total Studio 3 Max and all the wonderful plugins that come with it. See you again soon.